Every single product you've ever held started as just a flicker of an idea. But how does that idea actually become a real physical thing? And not just one, but thousands, even millions of them. Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down. We're mapping out the entire journey, from that initial spark all the way to a million perfect copies rolling off the assembly line.
Okay, so you've got it. That big idea. The one that keeps you up at night. The one you just know could be a game changer. You can see it in your mind's eye. You know exactly how it should work. And you're thinking, people are going to love this.
And you know what? That's awesome. But, and I hate to be the one to tell you this, that amazing moment of inspiration, that is by far the easiest part of this whole thing. Right. The real mountain to climb is all about scale. How do you take that one perfect, handcrafted concept and make 10,000, 100,000, a million of them, all identical? How do you do that without the quality taking a nosedive, without blowing your budget, or worse, without losing the very thing that made the idea special in the first place? That's the puzzle we're going to solve. To even begin to solve it, you have to understand that every product is basically a tug of war between two different worlds. In one corner, you've got industrial design. This is the outside-in view. How does it look? How does it feel in your hand? Is it intuitive to use? It's all about the user experience. Then, in the other corner, you have mechanical engineering. This is the inside-out approach. Does it actually work? Will it break? And the big one, can we even build this thing? A truly great product isn't about one side winning. It's born in that sweet spot where these two worlds meet and agree. So, how do we build a bridge between the art and the science? You start with a blueprint. But not just any blueprint. You need one that's designed for the real world from the get-go. This is where we bring in a crucial philosophy, something called Design for Manufacturing, or DFM for short.
And don't let the name fool you. This isn't some boring technical checklist. I love how Vyasateja Rao puts it. He says it's a commitment to excellence. It's both an art and a science, the secret sauce that makes sure your amazing idea can actually survive the trip from a napkin sketch to a massive factory.
So what is DFM really? At its heart, it's a really simple idea. You have to design a product while constantly thinking about how it's going to be made. It forces the designer to imagine the factory floor right from the very beginning. You're asking, how will we build this, just as often as you're asking, won't this look cool? And this isn't just some abstract concept. DFM is built on some really practical common sense principles. You simplify parts because, hey, fewer parts mean fewer things to break and assemble. You standardize components using off-the-shelf screws and bits whenever you can, which makes your life way easier. You design for easy assembly because if you can shave 5 seconds off building one unit, you save thousands of hours when you're building a million. You pick the right materials for the job, balancing cost and performance. And the absolute biggest one, you get your designers and engineers in the same room from day one. That collaboration is everything. Okay, once you have that DFM-focused blueprint, you are ready to make your first physical draft. This is the prototyping stage. And listen, the goal here is not to make something perfect. It's the exact opposite. The goal is to fail. You want to fail fast and fail cheap, finding every single problem now, before they become 5-alarm fire-level disasters later on. I mean, think about it. This is a massive moment. It's the first time your idea actually leaves the perfect, clean world of a computer screen and becomes a real object, something you can hold in your hand, you can test, and most importantly, you can try to break. And this right here is exactly what that jump looks like. On the left, you see the plan, a flawless, detailed CAD model, pure digital information. And on the right, that's the proof. A CNC machine is taking that digital plan and literally carving it into the physical world. This is where theory gets real fast. So, how do you hunt for those problems? Well, engineers have a really powerful tool for this called a failure mode and effects analysis, or FMEA. It sounds super complicated, I know, but it's basically just a structured game of what if. You ask, okay, what's a potential way this could fail? What if a customer drops it? The effect, the screen might crack. How bad is that? Really bad. And the solution? Okay, let's use stronger glass or design a shock-absorbing frame. You do this for everything before a single customer ever touches it. And this is so important to understand. You want your prototype to fail. You want to find every single weakness now. Why? Because finding a flaw during prototyping might cost you a few $100 to fix. Finding that exact same flaw after you've shipped 1 million units, that can cost millions and completely destroy a company's reputation. All right,
So you've prototyped, you've tested, you've found the flaws, and you've refined your design. Now comes the final boss, scaling up. How in the world do you go from making one perfect item to making millions of them?
So your prototype is amazing. It's tough, it's beautiful, it works perfectly. But here's the catch. The way you made that one perfect prototype is almost guaranteed to be the absolute wrong way to make 10,000 of them. Going to mass production is a completely different ballgame. Let's take a classic example, 3D printing versus injection molding. 3D printing is a prototyper's dream. It's incredibly fast for making one or two, you can change the design on the fly, it's perfect for a small batch. But the cost to make each individual part never really goes down. Injection molding is the total opposite. You have this massive upfront cost to create a steel mold, which can take weeks, but once that thing is up and running, the price per part drops to pennies. It's a terrible choice for making 10, but an amazing choice for making a million. It's all about picking the right tool for the scale you're at.
And to manage this complexity, you need one single source of truth. In manufacturing, we call this the bill of materials, or the BOM. The best way to think of it is as the master recipe for your product. It is a painstakingly detailed list of every single screw, wire, resistor, and plastic shell you need to build one unit. Without an absolutely perfect BOM, trying to mass produce anything is just pure chaos. And if you're wondering why that BOM is so critical, just get a load of this. Right now, there are over 60,000 different metallic engineering alloys available for designers to choose from, not to mention all the plastics, woods, and composites. Every tiny choice affects performance, cost, and supply. The BOM is what brings order to that mind-boggling complexity. So, as we pull this all together, it becomes pretty clear that the real blueprint for success here isn't just a series of steps you follow. It's much deeper than that. It's a whole new way of thinking.
You see, successful manufacturing isn't a linear path with disconnected stages. It's a loop. It's about thinking about the supply chain, the assembly line, the tooling, the cost, all from the moment you first put pencil to paper. The factory isn't the last stop on the journey. It's got to be on your mind from the very beginning.
So what's the big takeaway? You need to adopt what we call the maker's mindset. This means you look at the whole picture, design, materials, manufacturing as one single interconnected system. You force your teams to collaborate from the absolute beginning. You plan for making 1 million of them right from the start. You use your prototypes to learn and find flaws, not just to get a pat on the back. It's all about finding that perfect balance between cost, quality, and creativity, optimizing for the real world without sacrificing the soul of your idea.
You know, the tools to do all this, the software, the machines, the knowledge, they're getting better and more accessible every single day. The path from a thought in your head to an object in your hand has never been more clear. So really, the only question left is, what big idea are you going to bring to life?